the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Mentioned a bit earlier in the show when we were discussing this, Todd Beamer, who hails from my hometown of Wheaton, Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
And his, infamous "Let's Roll" on Flight 93. But there's a lot more to that story that people have forgotten, and about Todd Beamer and about that day and what he and some other passengers on Flight 93 did, and I think it should be retold. And thankfully, the Wall Street Journal did a great job of retelling it. Todd Beamer, he was an Oracle salesman, and he also was Wheaton College grad. He was an athlete, played basketball and I think baseball there. This is the account. Many passengers made calls during the flight, of course, once started to realize what was happening. Beamer's, the largest account, the best account of Beamer that day was with the airphone operator named Lisa Jefferson. He remained on the line with her for 14 minutes, describing the direction of the plane, the hijacker's behavior, and eventually the passenger's decision to revolt. Miss Jefferson recalling, "He was devoid of any stress. In fact, he sounded so tranquil it made me begin to doubt the authenticity and urgency of his call." Also, he was fortunate, I don't want to forget these names too, 3 other passengers who spearheaded the revolt. Their names should be remembered. Jeremy Glick, Mark Bingham, Tom Burnett. They were also athletes. And the hijackers were pitching the plane back and forth sharply in a failed attempt to shake their attackers off their feet, these 4 American heroes. The cockpit recording, filled with slams, shattering plates, and howls, reveals that the terrorists took the plane down only after 6 minutes of the passengers' sustained assault on them. Also, Todd Beamer and his wife Lisa were devout Christians. And in fact, Todd taught Sunday school for a time at Princeton Alliance Church in Wheaton. Before ending his call with Jefferson, Beamer, according to Jefferson, asked, "Would you do one last thing for me?" She said, "Yes, what is it? Would you pray with me?" And then they said the Lord's Prayer together in full, with the other passengers joining in. Beamer then recited Psalm 23, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." And then it was, "Are you guys ready? Okay, let's roll."
Mm-hmm. I had that company, the Uniphone that he used, they're based in Aurora, and I had the honor of interviewing her, the Lisa, who took the phone call from him, and she was really, I mean, she her life will never be the same, and he is a true hero, what he did, and he should never be forgotten, or the other men that joined him in the cockpit. And there was a flight attendant too who tried to pour hot coffee on those terrorist thugs that were in there. And it's really, if you ever saw the movie Flight 93, I mean, it's really hard to watch, but it is worth it.
Absolutely. For a more great storytelling, let's talk to a professional storyteller. He is John Ruane. He is the author of A Dangerous Freedom, which has a real intersection to 9/11, so perfect opportunity to discuss his book with him and these larger topics. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Dan and Amy. I appreciate being on your show today. And, everyone remembers where they were when 9/11 happened, seeing the Twin Towers getting hit, and then watching them fall, which was, devastating, obviously. So there's no question that the world changed at that point. And in my story, unlike the Todd Beamer story you just talked about here, I have a fictional character, but it's based on real experience as well. But and I basically take high school students at St. Lawrence, which I call St. John's Academy, and their reaction to it. And one of them goes off and joins the military, and the other one, Dylan Riley, he doesn't have the courage to join the military at that point, right? So 10 years later, he and his wife escaped 3 dangerous attacks, and that's when he becomes Todd Beamer. That's when he decides, okay, I have to stand up now, and I have to fight back. Now, the people on that airplane, some of them still did not want them to, charge the cockpit at that point. But, Todd Beamer and those other 3 fellows, they knew that their back was against the wall. They had no choice. That plane was going to be crashed if they didn't try to do something. So what a great hero and what a great story that is, Dan.
And Lisa, the operator too, she was telling him what was happening in other cities. So they knew, she was providing that information to them to let them know that, because they didn't know where if they're heading to the White House when they turned around. So it's just so heartbreaking and sad, but heroic all at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When, it's like we go through life, and most of us would like to just get through life without being attacked. And, you get into a situation where there is no choice, right? You have to defend yourself somehow, right? So that's the question. How do you defend yourself? In their case, it was they had to charge that cockpit. In our case, well, what do we do now that we're living in a world where, the police are being pulled back and, people are being shot on the Dan Ryan and everything else. So it's kind of all covered in what I do in A Dangerous Freedom is I take the story of Dylan Riley and how he becomes that hero and how he, prepares himself to defend himself and others around him. So that's what I'm trying to do with the story.
Yeah, no, and I love stories like that too. And this is a thriller, akin to Tom Clancy or Vince Flynn or Brad Thor, sort of in that genre. And I like stories like that. I think a lot of people do because it puts you in that moment where you're confronted with a choice that either way you go is going to change your life forever. And what do you do with sort of all of these competing interests and competing risks?
Exactly. So this is it. Tomorrow is the 20th anniversary, and I feel badly for all of those soldiers that went over to Afghanistan and fought, and now where are we at right now with all? Did we get anywhere?
Well, yeah. And to your book, since it weaves in some of these topics, I don't have to spoil anything for readers, but perhaps some of the questions that you weave into this novel that we're still grappling with.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And so I do. I mean, the thing is, readers will relate strongly to this because they're living it right now. And when do you step up, and when do you defend yourself, and when do you take that heroic moment? So I tie in two other stories which show two other decisions that other people make, and then at the end they all come together to face the terrorists without giving away too much there. Hopefully I'm not giving away too much, but I would invite people to look at what his reviewers and readers have written about it on Amazon.com because, as a writer, Dan, when you write a book like this, you write it obviously from my own point of view, but then you see how other people respond to it, and that's what's the wonderful part about it is you see how they react to it. So many have talked about how it really hit home for them in terms of 9/11 and how it carried through and the impact it's made on all of us, for the next 20 years here, no question about it.
And does the book take place in Chicago?
Most of the action takes place in Chicago, yes. So that's the thing. When you're reading it, Amy, you're going to know the places I'm writing about, which is, I think, makes it fun for Chicagoans. And the other thing is, once he does decide to step up and fight back, that's when it actually becomes fun for readers because, it's like the cowboy coming out of the Old West and stopping the bad guys. I don't know how you like Clint Eastwood movies or those types of things, but that's kind of what it feels like during the remainder of the book at that point.
John Ruane is formerly a reporter for Chicago Sun-Times, Tribune, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He's the author of 5 books, and this is one I want to read too because he was one of my favorite football players of all time, the Earl Campbell story. But the new book is A Dangerous Freedom. It's his first thriller, and you've heard a description of its timeliness as we contemplate America over the last 20 years since 9/11. John, thanks so much for joining us, and continued success with the book. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is attorney Stephen Leahy. This isn't the first crisis we faced together. Back in '08, business professionals in trouble sought help from bankruptcy attorneys, loan modification attorneys, foreclosure defense attorneys, and IRS attorneys trying to gain full financial recovery. They should have just called me. Let me tell you about Chuck. His small business crashed in the '08 crisis. He faced 2 foreclosures, overbearing creditors, and the dreaded IRS. Chuck would not even get out of bed in the morning. His wife heard me on the radio and convinced him to hire me. We got Chuck a loan modification and a short sale. We obtained a discharge of his debt and settled what was left of his IRS liability. Now Chuck is back in business and in control of his life. You can hear Chuck tell his own story at fullfinancialrecovery.com. We can get through this new crisis too. The time to start rebuilding is now. Don't let your life's work go down the drain. Get your free guide to recovery at fullfinancialrecovery.com. That's fullfinancialrecovery.com. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. There's no time to waste. Fight back now.
All right, what are you doing to help yourself? Are you being proactive, getting enough sleep, exercising, eating a well-balanced diet? If not, that's where Balance of Nature can come in. 6 capsules, you're getting 10 servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. I can't even name 31 fruits and vegetables, but it's all in there. Trust me, I've been taking it for a long time now. So is my mom. My mom is slowly getting off her blood pressure medication, which is epic. That is huge. She's been on Balanced Nature for almost a year now. Takes it religiously. She cracks hers open over applesauce, and I just crack mine open in warm water every day, and I feel stronger and healthier. And that's why I take Balance of Nature to have a strong, healthy immune system. The number to call, 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago, or simply go online to balanceofnature.com, discount code Chicago.
How much equity do you have in your home?